Hey, MK.
Yes?
Do you remember at the end of the last podcast when we were done, you were like, hey, Sam, we should record earlier in the month so we have time to do it. Do you remember that?
It is November 24th.
November 24th, yeah.
It's the day after Thanksgiving.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the TFI podcast. I don't even know what number we're on right now.
God, we're on 7.
Oh my god, we've been doing this for half a year already. It is, November.
What? Yeah,
it is
right.
It's November 24th. We
Day after Thanksgiving. Yeah. Did you do anything fun for Thanksgiving, Sam?
I'm in Canada.
That's right. Did you do anything fun for Canadian Thanksgiving back in October?
Well, I mean, when we do it in October, we always have our usual dinner and, stuff like that. But for American Thanksgiving, yesterday, I spent it taking a nap.
I wish I took a nap. I went to work.
Wait, on Thanksgiving?
Yes, I also probably have to work on Christmas. No, I actually had Thanksgiving off, but I chose to go into work for Thanksgiving.
What is wrong with you?
Overtime pay.
Oh, it's time and a half, right?
Yeah, and my store wasn't open, so I didn't have to deal with customers.
You know what? That's okay. That sounds
fun. I just got to chill in my store with one of my favorite coworkers and get paid for it.
You know what? Okay, fair. If my work was the same thing, I would do that.
Do you guys have Black Friday then, or is that just an American thing?
We kind of have Black Friday, but it's not really a day. It's like a week.
That's kind of it is for us at this point. All online retailers are like Black Friday sales starting at Monday.
Well, I remember like Black Friday in the States years ago was like, 200% off of like a TV, and it would be like pennies for it. And people would actually like shoot each other in the parking lot just to get a TV.
This feels like an outsider's perspective of America. Like, and I keep saying America, of the U.S., because you're just like, yeah, and that the U.S., I heard you guys shank each other in the parking lot and throw children to get TVs. I'm like, I mean, maybe?
Black Friday now, it's like, oh, hey, get this $1,000 TV for 2 cents off. Like, the deals are not what they used to be. But my favorite, there's a scene in a Christmas movie named Krampus, and the opening scene.
I love that movie.
Yeah, the opening is slow motion Black Friday.
That's such a good movie, and I love that scene.
Oh, God, I love Krampus. I can't wait to watch it, sometime next week when Christmas season actually starts.
I'll have to watch it, yeah.
But also...
That's one of my family holiday movies.
It's so good. It good.
Is.
But when it comes to December... Issue 3 of the new Skybound comic comes out.
That's right. It comes out what day in December? It's usually like the first week, right?
I think it's the first week. Well, I mean, the first is on Friday, but it'll probably be sometime the week after that. I think
so. It's usually the first week of the Wednesday. So I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like it will probably be coming out on the 6th. I could be wrong on that, but I want to say it's the 6th.
I'm so excited. We're not going to talk about the second issue because that literally just came out. We don't want to spoil it for those who haven't read it yet.
I was going to say, we've decided that on the podcast, we will be talking about the Skybound issues, but we won't be talking about them in the month. So like the issue that comes out in November, we won't talk about till December and so on. So that gives people time to read it, because what we want to do is we want to make people, we want people to support Skybound. We want people to support this Transformers run. So far, it's been really good.
It has. It's been really, really good. I've been loving it because it's a good new take on Transformers while also sticking to the familiarity of it. And the first thing I think I noticed this when people were sharing around the cover arts and the variants and some of the panels, is I really like the artwork. And I like how it almost looks like the paper is dirty. It almost looks like there's a layer of grit all over the.
I feel like that's just Daniel Warren Johnson's style, because I need to actually read his runs, but I read a bit of his Beta Ray Bill comic, because when I was out visiting the Morning Shorts, I went with him to the comic book store, and Morning Shorts is a huge Daniel Warren Johnson fan, and so he was picking up some Beta Ray Bill issues, and I read them with him, and that just seems very just how Daniel Warren Johnson's art is.
And I like that because there's a sense of like dirty like realism to it, and I really really like that. And I do like that the designs are very faithful, but they also feel unique, if that makes sense.
For me, I mean, they very much are G1, but what I like is that, I don't know, I don't feel the uniqueness, but what I am excited for is they're already open with the idea of exploring newer designs, because they've mentioned, Daniel Warren Johnson himself mentioned, I think in a Q&A, that like they're starting off with those G1 designs as a means to, people who are not, who haven't been into Transformers in a while, just get, be like, hey, this is familiar. We're starting a new comic, but this is the Transformers, and then they're slowly gonna branch out and get a little weirder.
The first issue was shorter than I expected it to be. Like I got to the end and I went, oh, that's it. But I think that's a good feeling because it made me realize like I was enjoying it and I wanted more. When it comes to the art style, this comic book did something on one page that I haven't seen a comic book do, also because I don't read a lot of comic books.
Yeah, what you're probably going to say is something that, like, I haven't seen this done before. I'm like, and then you're just going to say the most generic thing. But anyway, continue.
It's the part where, Optimus and Ratchet transform and it's like roll out. When you turn the page, the drawing is vertical. Like you have to turn the comic book on its side.
That is actually a common thing. In fact, I don't read a lot of Western comics. Oh god, I'm gonna sound so obnoxious. When I say this. I do read a lot of Japanese manga though, and that is something they do a lot in that. And it's some of my favorite panels are like when a character does a really cool attack and it's a full page. And so yes, comic books do that, and I'm really excited. I'm glad to see the Transformers doing that.
Oh yeah, no, the fact that it's a full page I have seen before, because lately I've been reading the Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus volumes because they've been releasing them, but and they do the full page ones, but I've never seen one where it's a full page and you have to turn the comic sideways. I've never seen that before. Like you have to rotate the comic 90 degrees to look at that page, and it's just so cool because it's just Optimus and his trailer charging out of the Ark with Ratchet beside him, and it just says roll out, and I'm like, oh my god, this is gorgeous, and it was so just cool. And I visually I love the way it looks. I don't think there's anything that I would really change about it, and I like the human characters. I like how they were involved in it. I love how the story still focuses on the Transformers greatly while also like making you like these human characters.
Something I really like is how the introduction to the humans reminds me a lot of Transformers Armada, because Spike and Carly are introduced as they're exploring this mountain, and that's exactly how the kids in Armada stumble across the Transformers, specifically the Minicons. And I think I like when Transformers stories do that, because I feel like a lot of them, they either have it where the Autobots seek out the human character, or the human character stumbles across the Autobots after they've already been on Earth for a while. Like in G1, the Autobots kind of went to Spike and Sparkplug because they were just on an oil rig, which, why was like 15-year-old Spike working on an oil rig? I mean, it feels like even in the 80s that feels a bit wild, but whatever.
That was like a while ago, even in Texas.
But so I like that they did that whole. I don't know if Armada was the first one to do it, but I'm going to believe that it is an Armada reference. So because
it's your headcanon.
Yeah. Here's the thing. When M Cords, who you've seen in behind the scenes, he was in the TFCon episode of the podcast. He is an avid listener, and like me, we are the Armada fans. So I hope he gets. I know he listens to every episode, so I hope he gets a smile out of that Armada, out of me defending Armada with this comic.
Matt, are you on the road right now, Matt? Just
another commute banger, as you would say in the comments.
Matt, you're a little close to the car in front of you. Just hit the brakes for a second. Matt, your exit. What are you doing? You just missed it. I can picture Matt in his car right now, looking over his shoulder, going, "Oh shit!" Just playing along with it.
So another thing I really like with the comic is how the tone of it is hopeful and dark. Like it's not overly dark to where it's like ew, gritty, blah blah blah. But this is the real Transformers for adults. Like I like how it has that more hopeful energy and that more fun energy of like the 80s show. But then occasionally characters slip up, and especially Starscream's characterization. I always love when they make Starscream incredibly sinister. Like his squish. If you've read the comic, you know what I'm talking about. The squish, the last panel, because we're gonna be talking about spoilers for issue 1, but we won't spoil issue 2, because it's been over a month since issue 1 came out. The squish on the last panel of the first issue, that was one of my that had made me smile. It's so messed up.
These comics have already made me drop my jaw. I won't mention why in the second one, but it's just in this one. I mean, like he picks up a human, and my first thought is, okay. I mean, this comic isn't gonna do what I think. Oh my god! Mm-hmm. Like I was shocked by it. I'm like, oh my god, this piece of crap's a freaking menace. But I'm glad they did that, because this comic is really showing the fragility of, you know, earthly beings compared to these beings, these giant robotic beings. And there was another death that I wasn't expecting, but made me very happy.
Okay, you would get happy over that.
It's my shtick.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't see if they deal with the consequence of that forever. Good on them, but I don't see that lasting forever.
Me neither.
If this is a long running, but yeah, I do not see Bumblebee staying permanently dead. However, Bumblebee, yeah, he did do that. Starscream did just, and I like how they played with Jetfire being like his G1 characterization, where he's like, "Hey, Starscream, you're my friend. We got to get out of here." And Starscream's like, "Yeah, Jetfire," and then just kills Bumblebee. And Jetfire's like, "What are you doing? Wait, who are you? You're not the Starscream I know."
Yeah, it implies a lot of history there, and I was kind of hesitant to get into this comic book because like I had enjoyed a lot of like IDW's runs from the past, and a lot of the comic books I still want to kind of make into a live action film. Like you and I, we mentioned Lost Light on the last one. I would love to do some sort of Last Bot Standing and King Grimlock, but I miss out on new comic books all the time. Like when IDW restarted with their new Transformers thing about the start of the war, I wanted to read that, but I never actively went and got the comic books. And now it's almost too late because they're like double the price and it's ridiculous. So I said to myself, all right, I've heard new things about Skybound's comic book. I heard they were good. I'm just going to buy them as they release so I have them and I can read them.
I've started getting them digital because they sell out. All my local comic stores sell out of them instantly. So I had to start buying them digitally.
I get it online. I get physical copies online from
how?
There's a seller I buy from on eBay. I think it's Dungeon Master Comics or Dungeon Comics, something like that. And he's a local Canadian comic book store that's like a few cities away. So I pre-order the comic book. They ship the day of release, and I get it in like 3 to 4 days, maybe less.
Okay. No, I've started for certain reasons. If you know, you know. I started getting it on digital, so I'd have access to the panels if I ever needed them. But and so that way I can read them as soon as possible, because even like if you get them digitally, you can usually get them like at midnight the night before.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I really like about the comic, and Sam, I don't know if this will have too much of an effect on you, but there's a big part of Transformers history I like, which is the fact that G.I. Joe is another Hasbro property, and it is always been tied to Transformers, but what the problem with it is they've never found a way to organically combine it, because in the original comic run, I think there was a few crossovers. I'm not too I don't know too much of the history of like the Marvel Comics runs of Real American Hero or Transformer, like if they ever really did major crossovers. But I know the cartoons did crossover because they were set in the same universe, but it wasn't till like the third season, which was way past the G.I. Joe section had ended. And then any other time they've done crossovers, it's always been retroactive, where like they started off as two separate continuities, which I want to say that's how it was with Real American Hero and the Marvel comic, where with IDW, like they started off as two separate universes, and then they retroactively were like, no, wait, they're canon, let's throw them together. And so the Transformers and G.I. Joe is, even though they've always been intertwined since the get-go, it's sometimes been a bit messy. So I'm glad they're fully, like from the get-go, going, okay, these stories are interconnected, and so it will make the crossovers feel a lot more fluid and make a lot more sense. And hopefully this gets a lot more people into G.I. Joe, because unfortunately the lack of G.I. Joe media in recent years means a lot of people don't know a lot about G.I. Joe. So they kind of, I feel like a lot of people make assumptions about G.I. Joe without actually like watching it or reading it. Like I feel like so many people make the assumption it's just generic like military action, like a Call of Duty campaign type story, when it's not it at all.
See, I know nothing.
Yeah, that's like, because there's not been a lot of good G.I. Joe media recently. The last good piece of G.I. Joe media was like G.I. Joe Renegades from over a decade ago. The movies are just generic action movies that don't do any service to the actual G.I. Joe. Like the Snake Eyes movie that came out a few years ago was a fine action movie, and it had few fun references, but like it was a terrible Snake Eyes movie, a terrible G.I. Joe movie. And so I'm hoping this comic helps people learn more about G.I. Joe and helps the very common misconceptions around the series.
And then people can be like, Sam, TFI do a crossover.
Speaking of that, on the last episode, someone asked has anyone thought of a G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover? Oh, sorry. Specifically, James Rogers 115 says, has anyone thought of a G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover? Well, Sam is not into it yet, but I guarantee you when the Energon universe continues and they start making references, he's going to be like, wow, this G.I. Joe thing's really cool. And I'm going to be like, yeah, it's almost like if you actually read something, you'll be into it. And then the recency bias of it being merged, because let's be honest, we all know Sam, if something happens in a recent media, he'll be like, hey, let's jump on that.
Hey, I don't suffer from recency bias. What are you talking about?
So there could be so far, no, there's no plans for a G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover, if you're talking TFI specific. However, if I get the ability to, I will force this man into it.
We have way too many crossovers in the works already.
So, yeah, and that doesn't stop you.
I know. I know.
He also asked, one of your color-shaded Autobots, is that a subtle reference to Thomas the Tank Engine? If you're talking about Hearts of Steel, I assume he's talking about at the very end.
That was a recolored Bumblebee. The two trains at the very end, one that is dark green and one's that's sort of a cyan blue. Those are both Bumblebee trains, but they're recolored to match. I don't remember their names, but Carlos wanted a reference to them, and I don't remember who they are. Hang on, if I go to my pinned messages with Carlos.
Oh lordy,
Tap Out and Glyph.
I thought the blue one was Glyph. I swear, I'm going insane because I thought I saw the Thomas one. I don't know where I did. I'm going insane. However, no, so it's not a reference to Thomas. It's Glyph. I don't know why I didn't put that together. I'm losing it.
Going back to the comic real quick. I've debated on like trying a new sort of thing for TFI, and that's like do either photo recreations or like one-to-one scene recreations, just really, really short ones of like a couple panels, just to try something on like the downtime, because I love the new comic book and I want to just do more with it. It's just fun to reference comic books. However, you yell at me when I reference the Bayverse comic books.
That's my own personal bias because I don't like the Bayverse comic books, okay? That is my own personal hot take bias. I just don't like the Bayverse comics, so I naturally don't like when you take decisions from them.
Listen, you just have to have, you gotta have better opinions.
Hold on, the TFI podcast is going to take technical difficulties as I drive over to Sam's house and beat the shit out of him. So, the comic has been a lot of fun, but I wanted to ask about something that I didn't have much involvement in. Your Rise of the Beast prequel. Is there anything you want to talk about with that?
Oh, yes, Chapter 1, The Hunter. It would be neat to talk about this later on as well, once it's actually out with Coolerite.
Yeah.
But Chapter 1 is something Coolerite and I have been discussing for quite some time, because when Rise of the Beast was first, like when the trailers came out and such, we got a plethora of comments like, are you going to make a fan film? Are you going to, do this and do that with it? And my answer was always, if there's enough story potential to pull from and make a fan film about. And after I saw the film, I came out like, oh, I got some ideas. And I want to make sure it's known that, like, Coolerite and I are making a Rise of the Beast prequel because we love Rise of the Beast. Not because we feel like things need to be fixed. Not because we feel like we can make it better. No, we love Rise of the Beast and we want to see more. So personally, we're going to show more. And we're not making things that we think should be canon. We're not going to sit here and be like, you have to think this is canon. No, we're making a story of what we think could have happened, and you can decide if it's canon. Which is the same thing goes for all of our, spin-off films that we've done for Bumblebee or the Bayverse. It's up to you if you want to decide if it's canon to you or not. But Chapter 1 is the beginning of a series of films. Because rather than one big prequel that jumps from like character to character and time frame to time frame randomly and a bit too sporadically, we decided to break up each story into individual chapters. And Chapter 1 focuses on Optimus, which is why it's called The Hunter. It's showing him desperately hunting down Decepticons for a way home. While Chapter 2 may focus on other characters. I know Coolerite and we were discussing showing Scourge's origin, or Battle Traps and Nightbirds, and then Chapter 3 could be maybe the Maximals, and we'll just keep telling these chapters that kind of fill in the blanks for us that help like us enjoy Rise of the Beast even more.
I just be warned that could easily get retconned soon.
The fact that our prequels could be retconned is always a worry.
Yeah.
Right? It's always going to be a worry. Even when we're doing Bayverse prequels and sequels, there's a worry it could be retconned. And I don't see that as a problem, because it's still fun to make these films. It's still fun to kind of fill in the blank.
There's so many fan films on YouTube that, like, I remember when Dark of the Moon ended and like AoE was still coming out, so we made like a stop motion sequel that was instantly retconned with AoE. Like it doesn't matter. It's YouTube fan films, all right? This isn't like we don't need to worry that much about continuity.
Yeah, and it's going to be some time until like the sequel to Rise of the Beast comes out. So like we have time before things are potentially retconned. We are taking some steps, however, to avoid some potential retcons. Like in The Hunter, we're not having any of the other Autobots from the Bumblebee movie. Like there's no Ironhide or Ratchet. They don't appear because
no Brawn.
But
stand back.
We're not including those because we feel like there's a high chance maybe in the future those characters may appear again, and we don't want to include them to possibly kill them or not, only for them to come back. I feel like of all the chapters that we're telling in our prequels, I think The Hunter is the most secure one that I don't think would be retconned that much, if at all, because it sticks very closely to the story and the environment of Rise of the Beast. Just picture the transit deleted scene and think, what if that whole concept was its own short film. And that's basically what Chapter 1 is going to be like.
I have no involvement in this. I don't know even what stage of the production we're on.
We're on the filming stage now. Script is done, it's been sent out. Chapter 1 is just basically like the transit fight if it was a whole film. And a neat concept that we're doing, and we touched on this majorly in Finest Hour, where Finest Hour was Optimus Prime coming to terms with the fact that he has become a bit more ruthless and lost his morals. Chapter 1, The Hunter, kind of shows the very beginning. It shows Prime's decline, how he's losing his mental strength and his morals, and we show a moment where it kind of started, because not only is he kind of heavy with the fact that Earth was meant to be a pit stop and he's trapped everybody here, there's something else that happens that we're showing, and it's an entirely original idea that we're coming up with a character that does not appear in the Bumblebee movies or even the Bayverse, and it's meant to show that moment is where it started.
So you mean you're not going to throw the Fallen in it for the 400th time?
No, just Gigawatt.
Well, yeah, okay. Man, I want to know what people think of this film, and it's all comments point out Gigawatt. You want to know the truth about the Gigawatt cameos for me?
What?
I never look for them because I don't care enough. I just wait for someone to point it out and then go, oh, hey, there it is. I've never actually, I gotta find the Gigawatt cameo. I just wait because I know inevitably either you're going to tell me or someone in the comments is going to point it out, and then I'll be like, oh, there it is, okay.
I mean, I would rather you watch the film for the story and not looking for this DeLorean character.
But that's what happens. I'm never, like, I'm usually just too focused on the actual film where I'm like, oh, man, I have to, I'm invested, and then someone's like, oh, the Gigawatt cameo was here. I was like, really? I didn't notice because I was more caring about what was in focus. I can't wait for it to be a thing where, like, 2 or so years from now, at some point in the future, you're going to hit publish on a film, and you're going to stop and be like, oh no, I forgot the cameo. There's going to be one time it just slips your mind, and you just start panicking.
And what, you know what I'll do? I'll tell them, whoever finds this cameo gets a cash prize.
No, because I think there's actually, I feel like there's lawsuits. I feel like there's a law against that.
I think there is.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gigawatt, it has been announced a while ago that we are working on Gigawatt 4 Rise of the Fallen, and it is our 10-year anniversary film.
Yes. Because next year is the 10th anniversary.
It is.
You guys started in, I thought you started in 2013.
2014.
It was
2014.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah. 10 years and Gigawatt Rise of the Fallen. I do believe that it's a good script.
And I will watch because I have no reference of Gigawatt for, wow, when was the last time I was involved in the production of film?
Finest Hour?
No, I was not involved in the production of Finest Hour.
Like full... Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Man, gotta get back to working on things, man.
When are we making Jurassic Park 2?
We have so much things we have to make, man. Let's pace this. We still got to get Beast Wars Interstellar Season 1 out first.
We do have a lot to make. See, sometimes I think to myself, "Oh my God, we're gonna run out of time to make," or like I sometimes think we're gonna run out of things to make.
No, we're not.
We're not.
If anything, we're never gonna make everything we want to make.
I literally added the idea of a Spider-Man Transformers crossover 3 days ago, and
and you announced that on Twitter.com.
And I'm scripting a Jaws crossover. Like, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good for a long time.
Carlos is like, Hearts of Steel 2, you know? No,
eventually we'll... And I can't wait 10 years from now and all these sequels are out and people are going to be like, oh, that's so cool. That's... I mean, we've kind of talked about everything to look forward to in the next few weeks at TFI. I mean, there'll be definitely projects before Gigawatt 4, because Gigawatt 4 has a while before it comes out. But,
yeah, no, Gigawatt 4, we're hoping for an August release date, just to hit the nail on the head right on the 10th anniversary. But Cooler Ray and I have agreed that if it's done before August or done after August, we're okay. As long as it's released next year, we don't care when exactly.
Well, if it's done before August, just schedule it.
Yeah.
Even if you get done super early, like, just, I know you like to jump the gun, but don't.
And the thing is,
don't jump the gun.
Yeah, because like this film involves a lot of weather changes as well, so it will be filmed throughout next year.
Have you started filming any scenes for it?
Not yet. I was tempted to, but we don't know where our like equipment is going to be at that point, because there is a new drone that I'm looking for. And it's called a DJI Mini 4. It just literally just came out, and it's got a much better camera than what my current drone has. Because I bought my drone, the DJI FPV drone, because that was perfect for Maverick, because it was fast, it can do maneuvers and stunts, but the camera's pretty okay. This new one is a cinematic drone. It can't do stunts, it's not fast, but it's got a much better camera. And I would love to use that moving forward, because when our films swap to drone shots, you can tell.
Yes, but it's also gorgeous. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
The quality is not as, like, good angles are better than 1080p to me.
Yeah. And when it comes to Gigawatt 4, we're going to start filming it very early next year, like maybe January or February, just to film those scenes that we need involving, you know, the winter season. And then it's a big film, and we're expecting it to be the same length, if not slightly longer, than the Interstellar remake. And it's not just a grand film because of the story it's telling. In fact, given the topic, it's actually a smaller scaled film than I expected. It's just the emotional beats. In my opinion, they hit very hard. And I'm really looking forward to that. And it is the last Gigawatt film that we will be making. There will be nothing more after that.
I will say, the realization that this is the 10th anniversary of TFI made me realize I've been with TFI for over half its lifespan, and that feels weird to me. Because sometimes I still feel like the new person, you know? I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not one of the OGs. No, I joined TFI on its 4th year, before the 4th anniversary. And we're going on 10 years. I've been with TFI when this releases, I would have been with TFI for 6 years. I've been with TFI for over half of its, like...
I see you as such an important figure in TFI, and I see you as like another foundation. Like you weren't there from the beginning, but that doesn't mean it just means that like you've increased the stability, and you've helped me grow, not just as a filmmaker but as a person too. And you'll sometimes look at a script and go, oh, maybe that doesn't work, maybe change this, or you'll make me realize that maybe a character I'm writing isn't really working, and you'll pitch ideas, and you'll lend your voice, and it's just like, you may not have been there from the beginning, but I treat you as if like you were, because you've helped this grow so much more and faster and better than I could have alone.
It feels so surreal to think that 5 years ago, I just playing Halo with you would lead to this. Like, this is such a core part of my life now, and you're one of my best friends. And it's just, I don't know where things would be going. Like, the TFCon trips, all that. It's just so weird to think it happened, 5 years ago, going on 6.
And we met twice.
Yeah. And here's to another 5 years.
Yeah.
Many, many more films, many, many more things to come. TFI it's been so neat seeing TFI grow, and it's also been very interesting seeing the people who've come and go, because TFI has had, I would say, a constantly interchanging roster. We've had people that, I mean, there are still people that have been with us from the beginning, but just maybe have taken a backseat. Like, they're still here, but they're not as involved in, like, the, I guess, face of TFI. Like, they don't do, they still provide voice work, or they still occasionally do things for the channel, but they're not, like on the podcast, or they don't, they're not, I don't know how to word it other than just kind of, like, taking a backseat. And then there's people that have more drifted away from TFI, you know, some of the early members. It's been really neat to see how TFI in general has shifted and moved around, because even from the get-go, you've always planned for it to be a team effort. And I feel like now of all times, TFI really does feel like a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a single project I make where I don't get a ton of input and help with things. Even projects that I do kind of start off alone, like Finest Hour, Rollout 3, you know, those projects where it was kind of just a me from the start. It always turns into, MK, can you check out this script? Coolerite, can you give me inputs on the dialogue here? It's always, it is always a group effort, and it's always so much more satisfying watching the end project, knowing that so many people helped. And the main thing I like is that, like, I've always tried so hard to interact with the viewers and the fan base, because, like, without them, this would not be where it is as well. And there are so many viewers that just reach out to us and say, you know, these films are great, you've helped me through a hard time, and that is what makes it all worth it. And I don't want to become one of those creators that just hates its own fan base or ignores them, or just does horrible things. Like, I'm like, and I like to think that you help keep me grounded and call me out on my BS whenever it happens.
I also think it's really cool that you've definitely seemed to start reaching out with the community a lot more.
I want to, because I feel like I'm in the community, but I'm not, like, part of it. I feel like I'm just the guy who makes, like, films.
So we went over, you know, some of the future of TFI, the 10th anniversary coming up. And then we also talked a lot about the Skybound run. So I just wanted to see, you know, people watching this, what are your feelings towards the new Skybound comics, the new Transformers run going on? Are you liking it? Are you liking the story? Do you prefer maybe the older, like, IDW or Marvel runs? Like, what are your guys' feelings towards the comics? I also wanted to ask, Sam and I kind of talked about this. Now, for future guests, we still want to prioritize TFI Creations members, but we have thought of branching out and just inviting guests from the Transformers community. So let us know people that you may want to see on the podcast. Any people involved in the Transformers community that you think want to be on the show, and if things align, maybe they will. Also, I want to hint at something coming up soon. A Sam and MK collab that we are working on that is going to be unique. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want to talk too much about it yet, because I want to wait till we officially announce it. But there will be something coming to my channel in the near future that is not stop motion or TFI motion or toy related at all. It is a different type of project that you and me are working on, and I'm really excited, and I think it's something that's going to push us both in terms of, like, our skill and, like, you know, teach us new things, and I'm really curious to see how it turns out. I cannot wait to talk about it on the podcast.
I am looking forward to it too, because it's new. It's very new. Compared to the stuff that I've done in the past and stuff that we've done. So I'm looking forward. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really looking forward to it.
And then, as always, we like to, before closing, do just a simple community shout out. And we did pre-plan this one this time. I don't know if that was kept in the actual podcast recording, but on the last episode, there was a very panicked last minute, oh shoot, I didn't have anyone to think of. So we did have this one slightly pre-planned. So did you want to say it, or?
I love how you say it was fully planned, like we weren't scrounging around in the beginning.
Before recording, okay? Yeah, last time it was during the recording where we...
So the person that I would like to call out, and I know MK, you are very much for this as well, because you also brought her up. But I first discovered her on TikTok and now Twitter. But it is not curious.
It's not curious.
It's not curious. Yeah, she recently followed me, and then I followed back. We've been interacting a bit on Twitter, and she's really cool, and she's got great content on TikTok as well.
Yeah, she very much pushes for more women's voices in Transformers media and just in the Transformers community in general, which is something that is really nice to see, especially in a fandom dominated by a certain demographic of people that aren't necessarily can sometimes not be too kind to people who don't fit that certain demographic. So yeah, she has a TikTok you could follow. She also runs the Twitter account, The History of Female Transformers, which is a very interesting Twitter. It's very informative, especially if you want to learn about, how women are involved in the franchise, something that gets overshadowed a lot.
Which is very unfortunate, because I'm trying to just expand the number of fembots I have, because I realize I don't have a lot, and I don't like that.
But yes, please go check out It's Not Curious on Twitter and TikTok. And that's about all I have left to say for this episode.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. We can call it a wrap on this one. Again, MK, per the usual, thank you for kicking my butt, getting this into gear. It's always fun to do. I always look forward to it.
I thought we were supposed to record last week, and so there was a whole scheduling thing, because last week I get text from him. He goes, "You think you'll be free to record next week?" And I go, "Yeah, I should be free on Sunday." He goes, "Yeah, Sunday works for me." He was referring to Sunday the 26th, and I thought he was referring to Sunday the 19th. So I text him on Monday. I'm like, "Oh no, we forgot to record." He goes, "What do you mean? We're recording Sunday." I'm like, "Yeah." So that was a fun conversation. And then we ended up not recording on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured the sooner we get it knocked out, the better, because December is in a week, so I need to get this done. But to everybody who is listening in and has stuck with us from the beginning, thank you so much for listening. I know the podcast is kind of a niche audience, doesn't really get the most views, but you know what? I feel like the ones that do listen to this are the ones that I think really do care about the people behind TFI.
I still think there's a consistent amount of people that listen. But yeah, on that note, I think we should say goodbye.
We should.
Until next time.
Fare thee well.
Why do you do that every time?
I don't know.
That, and then the as usual, I think the thank you as usual or whatever. You do that every time.
Hey, it's better than what I do in Discord, and I say peace out, suckers.